Is this how it's supposed to feel, people? I think so. Now, we got to move forward. And when I mean forward, like, we got to progress. We got to show the world what we're made of. Right? As individuals, as people, the whole 9 yards. I did not report on this. I reported on this in the Patreon before I even made a video about it. There was a reason I chose to do it in this fashion. Here's the reason why. I was waiting for Joe to respond. I said, this is a lot of news, and more things were coming out. Just in case there were more things that dropped, I didn't want to just be, hey, I'm the first guy out. Yeah. Because that doesn't matter in a situation like this. Now, with that being said, we move forward. I saw this developing, and I saw this coming from the side, and it had to go down the way it did. Translation. People have no idea the level of what Joe Budden goes through once he's not doing Joe Budden. Like when he's not doing Love and Hip Hop, when he's not doing his show on Revolt, when he's not doing his podcast. People have no idea really what's going on in his head. They forget he's a recovering addict, that he drinks, that he's got violent natures. They forget about his past abuse of women. These things have been just whitewashed away with this new persona of Joe Budden. He has basically re-established himself and rebranded himself without really even trying. He was just Joe. And then he comes out and announces news, as he normally does all the time, that he's leaving Spotify and that they couldn't come to an agreement. Spotify is airing an episode that's dogging them for offering him a deal that they feel is fair. And Joe declined and wanted something else more out of the deal. They said, sorry, good luck to your company. Joe, for basically an hour, decides to break down Spotify. Then he gets a call from someone who he considered a friend, who was Charlemagne. Charlemagne comes on and gives him a call and goes, hey, what you doing? you don't know what you're doing. You're about to mess up another connection. It's another Joe Budden, bad business decision. So he comes over and starts trying to tell, Joe about Joe Budden's podcast and their business and what's going on. And he's not in that realm at all. It's like, you're not here. You're not in this bracket. You have no idea what this negotiation is like or what it's about. Why would you even be involved? So Joe basically did another podcast show where he bashes Spotify again. And he's really educating Charlemagne. But in Joe's mind, he's expressing himself truthfully. He's not bashing. He has no idea what everybody or anybody's even talking about. Like, bashing? Bashing who? I'm just telling the truth about what went down. That's how Joe mind looks at it. Now, where it goes from there is where I like to call the strange place. Joe basically tells him, me and you are not the same. I'm fighting a different fight. Why would you be going against me right now? I mean, really. Am I wrong, Rory? Maul, you understand? I understand completely. Now, what I mean is this. Charlemagne, you're a very bright human being. They shut you down. They took your show from you. HBO walked you out of the door for something apparently you did not do. We're not the same. So when he said all this on the podcast, Charlemagne, and I don't know why, for some reason, these people who sit around and talk about everybody else's life, right? And they talk as boldly, chest out. Anytime somebody turns around and turns the spotlight on them, they become super sensitive. I don't understand that behavior. It is the most weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. They deserve to talk about you forever. If they want to. They've earned that right, I would say. Wouldn't you? It's on them. I would think. If a rapper, celebrity wanted to turn around and mention me, okay, cool, go ahead. Knock yourself out. Would not care if LeBron wanted to mention me. Okay, cool. Let's have this dialogue. Let's get it on. What have I said about you that wasn't true, Bum? So, let's go. Now, these guys here, super sensitive. Charlemagne's bitter and upset. He talks with Joe, and they have a phone conversation after the podcast. It does not go well. It does not go well. Charlemagne does not like the fact Joe Budden said that Charlemagne was an employee of iHeartRadio, which is true, but he didn't like it. He didn't like the fact that Charlemagne decided to call him and basically bombard him on the phone in that fashion. Charlemagne is upset that feels that Joe attacks him on his show all the time. So here we are, full circle. After this show airs, Tahiri mysteriously comes out of nowhere, goes on this Jason Lee show that Floyd owns and put together called Hollywood Unlocked, where she comes out and talks about Joe and says Joe abused her, did all these other things, and I really don't like the host of that show. I think that person is just not a good-natured human being, and I feel that person knew firsthand before they even did the show. His line of questioning is just, it's ridiculous, to tell you the truth. It's not an interview. It's like a setup. It's like, dude, you're leading her down this road that we seem to all know where you're trying to go. And she comes out and reveals things about Joe. Right? So now Joe feels a certain way. And I mean a certain way. He's all hot under the collar because now he's in a bad position. This makes Joe look bad. Joe can't look bad. So now he addresses it on his podcast because it's a lie, and basically calls her an unfit person, unstable, just untrustworthy. And it looked more like you did all these things with him since then. Y'all have done reality shows together. Y'all have done all these different things together. Now you want to move on into this thing of bashing Joe just out of the blue. Then it's picked up everywhere. So people are just like, hey, look, man, I think Spotify is doing this to Joe, right? But it don't stop there. Sin Santana comes around right after all this, right? The Tahiri thing comes and goes. Nobody really cares. No one believes it. His estranged fiance, who they have a child with, are separated, right? They are separated. He put her out the house for things that he did and blah, blah, blah. They kept a lot of things private. Sin did not go public on a lot of these things. Now, these two who are separated, no longer together, have to get a check from Love and Hip Hop. Right? So now, Love and Hip Hop is going to give these two a check in about, I'll say, another month or so. They got to start filming. Ooh, this has built up a lot of tension for the season. If you're Mona Scott, this is it. There's somebody's finna line your pocket some more with foolery, and they got full of it. You want foolery? We got a lot of it for you. Bring your bowl over here. Get a cup. Foolery is coming right up. Now, here's the situation that I'm not proud of. I didn't like the fact that she decided, and this is her thing, she decided, I'm going to record Joe Budden, right? She put that in her brain. She's going to record Joe. Now, when she records Joe, you want to know what happened? Listening to her on that phone, she knows she's recording him. He has no idea she is even recording. Then, to top it all off, she brings up the fact that he dragged her, chased her down, dragged her. She mentions the fact that all he does is drink Jameson. He doesn't really do anything for the kid. How many times he's changed a diaper or even warmed up a bottle. When my sister was born, she was a little baby. I would say she wasn't even, let me see, she was about 3-4 month old baby. I was the one that had to change her diapers. I'm the one that had to get up in the morning and be with her. Keep her fed. Make sure she's good. Get her dressed and play with her. And read to her. Nurturing. I had to be that because my mother had to work. My dad had to go to work. And they had nobody to be there for about 8 hours out of the day. So for 8 hours out of the day, they both went to work. So it saved them on daycare money. And at the time, I didn't have to go to school or anything because it was like summertime. Like school was over for like 2 months, 2, 3 months. And I'm not saying, but that was an everyday process which I adjusted my life to because it was needed to be done. Now, for Joe, it might be something entirely different altogether. Then, out of the blue, here comes paperwork about Joe Budden and a dog. And that paperwork is what was damaging to Joe. Talking about him pleasuring a dog because there's no other women around. You see what I'm saying? That is considered a major issue with a lot of people. They really have a big problem with that. Now, looking back on the situation, you might say to yourself, well, here's the news. I have a problem with someone trying to tell me how much money I should take out of my own account. Well, Joe might have a problem with the way this information was distributed. It seems like they're in a relationship separation because he put her out of her home. And they were having this done privately between the two. Even though they got a show coming up, them not divulging a lot of information and it being revealed on a television show requires a lot of, ingenuity on both sides. A lot of interior focus. And that's where people truly were going or headed. You understand? Like that might have been the plan. We're going to do it this way. Someone decided to alter this plan. Or they decided we're not going to reveal it at all. We're just going to stay right where we are. We're not going to go down that road. But somebody decided, hey, you know what I was thinking? Let's go down this road. So Sin Santana decides to make a public statement that Joe was a good father. Somebody betrayed her trust. She did not leak this information. She did not do it. It's not what she do. And, they co-parent very well. And a female friend of hers decided to betray her. Okay? My thing is this to Sin Santana. Why? Why would a friend have access to audio cassette, anything that you've recorded on Joe? Why? Why would that person have that information? Why would that person have a document about him pleasuring a dog because the other dog didn't have any female dogs around, saying that he allegedly did these things and seems to be in a separation, a complaint. I have no idea how their court situation is or where that's going. But these information, he even brought it up on his podcast show one time. And he could have been joking and it got taken out of context and people decided to go down this road. But now it looks as if she's leaking this information and she's blaming it on a female friend she trusted. My thing is, why would you do that, Sin? Why did you feel a need to record Joe Budden and talk all of these trap questions to put him in a trap and go out in the fashion that you did? Why did you feel a need to do that? I'll tell you why. The majority of the people who do these type of things are 19 to 20% to 35% not genuine. They have other motives. They're trying to get something on somebody that they can use at a different point in time that could ruin that person's life. My thing is this. If you're successful in destroying Joe Budden, or using this type of information to sabotage his career or anything that he's doing, let me tell you how that's going to work out for you. If he loses money, you lose his money. If Joe loses his podcast or all this stuff here, guess what? Your money's going to drop too. But you know what they're thinking? I got my own money. I don't need Joe. I'm in the position I need to be. You wouldn't be on Love and Hip Hop right now if it wasn't for Joe. Honestly. That whole thing with Erica Mena and all that situation that went down with them two. It's like that situation should have never came to be. You feel me? That situation should have never came to be. Because they did basically a whole reality show on them two dating. That thing, and her time on that show, basically, she was done. Joe dig her up and bring her back and says, this is my boo. What did you expect from this woman? And it's embarrassing for Joe. And Joe's response is, you can't kill anything that's ready to die. Which made everybody panic. Oh no, Joe might harm himself. Listen, Joe has done nothing wrong here. Joe Budden has done everything that Joe Budden has plotted out to do, decided this would be the best thing for me to do. Everything that has been done has been by Joe's design. So why would Joe feel a certain way? Why would Joe feel a need to be in a certain way? It doesn't make sense. And so for anybody to think Joe need to be in a certain mindset of hurting himself, why? He's finna make millions of dollars. They're thinking this is going to harm his deal and all this stuff. He does a podcast show. Now, I look at things a little differently. I know I made this video longer than it probably needs to be. And shout out to everybody who donated to my Cash App, Carceno, Karceno, or my Streamlab. And definitely on the Patreon, it's cracking. Like I said, we talk about this a little bit more in detail with paperwork and everything else. Because YouTube be tripping. And we got, some uncut conversations that's going to go over a lot of topics that we cannot have on YouTube. So that's going to happen. We did a video with Big Sean's Detroit 2 review. They didn't send out a notification for that. So in case you guys didn't get your notification, that video is out. Because I know people are going to be like, yo, when you going to do the review for the Detroit 2? Now, here's the thing. Hold on. Joe Budden. Joe Budden has always had a lot of different situations transpire. Um, he's been on reality television for a very long time, and a lot of people say, "Well, man, what's responsible? Like, what's happening here?" In my estimation, I think Charlemagne's behind a lot of it. My true estimation, I think he's the one that's really pulling some strings, trying to go at Joe. This is the way he's deciding to fight it. You know, and I think Joe knows it. That's my expert opinion on it. Charlemagne. So the thing is that I went all the way around the whole board, and he tries to act like he's the victim. He knows nothing that's going on, and here's a person who says he gets dogged on his show all the time, on his podcast show. Here's the thing. Charlemagne and Joe Budden decided to try to create a little side show called The Pull Up. And they tried to go in and push to have this thing done, and see if Revolt or anybody wanted to pick it up. The problem is this: no one really cared about Charlemagne at all enough to want to vest any time, energy, money, etc. into anything that he was doing. When that being the case, you you're trying to get a different result doing the same thing. And they're saying, well, why do we need to pick up this podcast? Like, what is the purpose of doing this show? It's like, I have no idea what this talk show really is about or what's different about it. There's nothing really unique about it. And Joe kind of have a show like this already, so the pull up didn't work. They offered him something like, okay, well, you've got Charlemagne on it and so, it's going to bring in some people. Let's go ahead and do this, show. And it didn't work. Not everything people do work. I mean, they thought it would be bigger than what it was. But being friends with Charlemagne has what benefit? He's only going to turn on you one day. He's only going to be super sensitive if he can't control you. You're going to do something to get under his skin, and then bang. He's going to close the door on you. When he did his show, he created an avenue and started promoting people from Twitter and YouTube and all these other platforms. Why? Because it was less costly. It's like going to Alibaba. So Charlemagne wasn't trying to give these young brothers a chance. What he said is, I'm going to rip these fools off and get them for the low. I can get talented, creative people to do all my jokes, do all my writing, do everything for me on YouTube and Twitter, who I've been stealing from for years, for free. I'm going to give them an opportunity to make some money. So the one that kisses my butt the most will get that opportunity. So there you have it. And this led to the failure of the show. The show, to me, was bland. Charlemagne was trying to be something that he wasn't. And it was decent, but nothing to write home about. So now, we'll see where this goes next when Joe does his show. Will Joe bring this topic up? Because he's going to have to address it now. And he's going to definitely have to explain the dog situation, because now this is getting ready to explode and go into a whole different direction. That train has jumped off the track, and now it's going to go down a road that other people didn't know was going to go. And we'll talk about that later. Also, we got some breaking news that's going to come out on the Patreon that no one else even has this news yet, so I already know it. So stay tuned for that. Carcino for life. Deuces.